one's writing a futuristic history, whatever, but it's all history. And that is very, very valuable. These are all published writers, and they're at least as good as I am, if not better. And that's what we want in a critique group, because frankly, what are you going to learn? I mean, you have to give, but you got to get too, and you're not going to learn anything from people who are wannabe writers and never have really written anything. At least I'm not going to learn anything from them. But I've got, in my group, I've got several retired professors, and teachers, and everybody's published. So I hang on every word.
And in my case, I've had the same writing group. We've been together more than 10 years, and so we're in each other's back pocket in some ways. We recently added a new person, and we keep busting on him because we have rules that the rest of us get to ignore. And he doesn't understand this yet. Hitting him with sticks. We have about 5 minutes left, and I just know that there are people out there.
He's been very patient in the back.
Well, he hasn't given me any money either, though.
The question is, Mary, did you say that you're an academic writer?
No, I'm purposefully not an academic writer. When I'm writing nonfiction, it's for a general educated audience. That's what they call it. I write a lot for Colonial Williamsburg, history magazines, things like that.
Okay, so maybe the question would be for everybody then. For academic writing, I found that I have to have an outline and I have to stick to it, and you know exactly where you're going, and the whole point is to take away everything that's not essential to the one thing you're trying to focus on. And so I wanted to know if anybody ever wrote that way. Is it different when you write fiction where the story just takes you wherever? Because that seems contrary to the way I learned how to write, and I have trouble with that.
You shouldn't have anything in your novel that isn't pertinent to the story. The subject matter is different, but I don't see that as any different, frankly.
When I started, I was going to be a journalist. You know, the high school, my first publication was actually the local hometown paper when I was in high school. Wrote for, anyone go to UF for chance? Okay, I wrote for the University of Florida school paper for a while. And just realized journalism wasn't, you know, for me, but one of my professors in the journalism class taught me, when you're writing your piece for the newspaper or whatever, you have to write it so that at any point the editor can come and snip it off and throw out, you know, because he only has 6 column inches and you wrote 8 column inches.
I've actually seen it done.
So your story has to end at any point in the story and still make sense as a story, which is pretty much the opposite of fiction writing.
Well, I was a cognitive psychology professor, and I remember a brutal lesson from grad school where my major professor gave me this 50-page elaborate multi-experiment research paper, and he said, go write me a 2,000-word abstract. And I did, and it was hard because the thing went on and on. You had all these results to report and describe the methodology and the outcomes. And I was very proud. I said, "Oh, this is great." Cut it down to 1,000. And I went back to my office and toiled away at this, and you can see where this is going. And I turned it in and said, "Oh, you really captured the essence of this. Make it 500." We eventually got down to in iterations that I had a 50-word abstract. And he said, "Now you understand what it means to say what you need to say and get the hell out." And there are times when that work ethic works for fiction, and you have to stop because it's, I don't know if this happens to the rest of you, but I love my words, you know, and I want to share them with you. And you need to, you know, sort of slap yourself sometimes and say, this is not helping you. You're masturbating on the keyboard, basically. Sorry about that. But you need to, you know, there's a job to get done, and you can make it pretty later if you have that luxury. But you need to tell the story, and how much, how fluid you can be in doing that.
That's a large part of my bullshit technique. Yeah. That is getting rid of the unnecessary words and trimming all that out.
We had one other hand I saw, which is good because we have like 2 minutes left. So, yes.
You guys ever problems with your characters taking
love it when that happens. I love it when that happens. I like it when that happens. I don't call that a problem. I call that a benefit.
The opposite, I've ruined television for my wife, because we'll be watching something, why did that happen? That character wouldn't do this. No, that happened because the author needed that to happen. That happened because we're coming on a commercial break. and you know, when I'm running my small press and I'm wearing my editor hat and I'm going through somebody else's fiction, you know, I think one of the greatest crimes an author can make is this doesn't serve the character's need, this serves the author's need, and they are no longer the same.
So if the character decides to run off with the plot, you just let them, or?
If within reason, if the character takes on an attribute and takes on a attribute or does something that advances the plot or advances the story, then I'd say, yeah, go ahead, let it happen. If it goes, the risk that you have is that, yes, it can completely hijack the story and it goes off into some really weird direction that is not what you wanted to do. Then you will have to decide whether to rein it in. And if, you know, you may have to actually go back and do some rewrite. But I would say, I really mean it, when I get to that place where the characters are taking on their own lives and they're saying stuff that I didn't intend for them to say, I mean, I let it go. You know,
This is just another part of your unconscious mind trying, you know, to tell yourself something. The other piece is, unless this is a very short story with only a single character, when that character starts acting up, the other characters are going to respond. What do you mean you're quitting school and joining an ashram? You know, that's and that is part of that character's story as well. One of the best things that ever happened to me was there's a very weird child in this book, and I had the experience that I'm writing, and I had the impression that suddenly there's a kid standing next to me tugging at my pants, like saying, "It's my turn. I need to see." And it's like, whoa, get back in the book. But you know, I think, you know, and now if I actually really think I'm seeing him, that's a different matter. I'm not going to go get some meds. But there's something to that it's really transformational, I think. It is 10:51. She did not hold up the sign to tell me this, so we obviously get to keep going forever. I know we have one more question. So as people are slowly gathering their stuff to move out into the hallway, ask your question.
Who is asking a question?
No, she has a question.
I had a question for
She can go.
Mary, because you do crime writing. Do you find it better to come up with like the crime first and build the story around it, or do you come up with more the story with the characters and figure out how to fit the crime in there?
I would have the characters because it's this.
So like say the first time you were writing.
The first time, I've come up with the twist first. What is gonna fool the reader? What's unexpected? What's the core of this tricking you? At the end, you're going to be surprised for something. That's what I start with, and I build a plot around that. But if there isn't a surprise, a twist, gee, I didn't know he was the one, or I didn't know she was going to do that, then what's the point for me? I mean, that's what makes the books.
Thank you.
Thank you to my panelists. Thank you all for coming here. I remind you to check out that Markello's Noon.